words my geography teacher asked me when I couldn't locate India on a map. But today we are going to find out if you are stupid. Yes, you, the one who's thinking about scratching your armpits with a Toblerone. Hello, I am the Irish guy, and I've given you my Premier League predicted table for this season. But as always, I'm going to compile a table of stupid predictions that definitely won't happen. But these aren't totally off the wall like Arsenal will finish bottom of the league. Oh no, these are predictions that I know some of you will have made. But I'm here to tell you that they are stupid, but not nearly as stupid as uploading the wrong file to the internet. Honestly, imagine being lectured by someone who used to think his fingernails were food. Right, let's go. 20th, Leeds. Only dopes think that Leeds will finish bottom of the league. I'm sorry, okay, but if you're one of those poor gum beans who think that Leeds are finishing last, if you are one of those, I can only assume you also stick fish fingers up your nose to help you sleep. You probably also sneak into farms at night to tickle the sheep. Look, I know that Leeds United currently have Daniel Farke in charge. Someone who feels like he's finished bottom of the Premier League more often than I've sneezed on cabbages and Tesco's. Yeah, but that man is also going to be the first one to get the chop. Lads, there were rumours that the Leeds ownership is going to go full Watford and dump him even after promotion. Nobody has much faith in this German potato to produce a Premier League miracle because we've all seen that he's got the survival skills of Sean Bean in any film he's ever done. Leeds are going to have sacked this man by Christmas at least. So they'll be fine because this Leeds squad is actually pretty decent. I mean, weirdly, they've got 2 England international strikers. What? And that's football heritage, okay? Because Leeds have fallen on hard times, sure. But Leeds have only ever finished rock bottom of the league once since 1947. And that only happened in the championship in 2007 because they were docked 10 points for entering administration. Leeds don't finish bottom of any league. They might go down, but if you think they're finishing last, you probably also brush your teeth with a spoon. 19th, Wolves. I really don't know why so many people think that Wolves are in trouble this season. I'll admit it, okay? I had them get relegated a couple of years ago, but that was after a summer where they literally sold everyone. They were like what Brentford are now. Christ above, not even the tea lady was safe. People are screaming because Wolves have just sold 2 key players, but so? In 2023, they lost Neves, Costa, Moutinho, Traore, Cody, Collins, Jimenez, Nunes. Need I go on? Wolves are absolutely used to losing stars by now. They are the definition of a selling club, and they're cool with it. Sorry, but anybody who thinks that a team who ended last season with 5 straight wins on the bounce is actually going to go on and get relegated now. If that happens, then I will legally marry my mum's dog. 18th, Tottenham. Okay, does anyone actually think the Spurs are going down? Well, yes, because look at the comments after their 4-0 friendly defeat to Bayern Munich last week.
We are going to get relegated this season, I can feel it. No Son, no hope. Goodbye Ange, goodbye Sonny, goodbye Premier League.
Seriously, every single comment on the highlights package was Spurs fans pining for their son as if they were Michael of Lost.
Walt!
Look, I get it. Logically, a team who finishes 4th bottom of the league, if they then sell one of their all-time greats, the optics would make it seem like they're going to now fall further down the league and get relegated, right? Yeah, relax. Tottenham may have finished 17th, but hello, it's Tottenham. They're still European champs, sort of. I mean, if Thomas Frank never went down with Brentford, he ain't gonna go down with Spurs. Seriously, lads, if Tottenham get relegated, then I will literally move to Mars. 17th, Sunderland. Yeah, does anyone think that Sunderland will stay up? Anyone? Point me in the direction of just one person who thinks the signing of multiple random hipster buys is gonna pay off. No, absolutely not. Yeah, Sunderland have thrown money around. Sure, they've written more checks than Luke Shaw at his local Burger King. Well, actually, no. Nah, that doesn't work, because who writes a check for a cheeseburger? But look, there'll probably be 1 or 2 people hypnotized by the elite signing of Granit Xhaka. Someone who I think is probably the most impressive transfer a newly promoted club has ever made. Look, I think Xhaka is an epic buy, yes, and quite why he's happy to swap Champions League nights for a doomed relegation battle in the north is beyond me. I find it more normal if he chose to rip off his nose and eat it like a dog on camera. But look, I get there might be some flickers of optimism at Sunderland right now, sure. Well, that's the manager, Regis Labrie, in his last 5 championship matches at the club, he lost them all. That was sack-worthy behaviour. He was saved by the playoffs. Sorry, but I've never been so convinced of a team's relegation in years. 16th, Crystal Palace. Look, I know that some people think that Crystal Palace will be way down by the added European nights. And maybe they will. And yet they could absolutely lose both Gehi and Eze before the window shuts. But even still, seeing Crystal Palace sitting 16th in the league, that is the opposite of football heritage. That simply just does not happen. For a start, this is a club who's clearly obsessed with finishing 12th. And yeah, Palace have never finished in the Premier League bottom 5 since they were relegated in 2005. Their lowest top 5 finish since was 15th 9 years ago. In fact, the last time Palace finished 16th in any division was in 1923. Finishing 3 places lower than South Shields. That was a division where Manchester United finished 1 point above Bury. I mean, come on, there's not a single person alive on planet Earth who remembers that season. Palace do not finish 16th. They just don't, and if you think they will, then you probably also think that the moon is made of cheese. 15th, Burnley. Look, Burnley might survive, okay? I'm not going to call you a complete doorknob for thinking that Scott Parker might keep them up, because he's gone back to prioritizing the defense. So yeah, whilst I do still think the Clarets will go down, I reckon they'll grab a chunk of clean sheets and have a better chance of survival than they did with Vincent Kompany, which is crazy considering Parker is such a worse manager. But I'm sorry, there's still a huge lack of talent and goals in this Burnley team, and I really do think that the signings of Ukachukwu and Broya from the Chelsea bin, actually, no, they weren't even high up the pecking order to be in Chelsea's bin. No, they're like crisp packets you'd find down the back of your couch. If Burnley somehow survive, it'll be 17th, maybe 16th, but no way is there enough quality to not be in the bottom 5. Next, 14th, Everton. People still think that David Moyes is a moldy egg sandwich of a boss. Honestly, there's plenty of people out there who seem to think that he's still some absolute dinosaur. People still haven't forgiven him or ever trusted him again after his failures through the middle of last decade at Man United, Sociedad and Sunderland. They made up their mind that he's just some crusty old vegetable and shouldn't be in the Prem. And so seeing him in charge of the Toffees now, oh, it's a bit like seeing your grandma trying to dance to Post Malone. You think that Moyes belongs in an old folks home, being spoon-fed soup by a nurse. But lads, put some respect in his name. It's not so long ago that he guided West Ham to 6th and 7th. He won them a European trophy, and I'm guessing there's many a West Ham fan who would gladly stuff lobsters in their ears to get him back. I know there's going to be a lot of people who's going to tip Everton to have yet another dismal season, in and around 45 points, but no, they're building a good team. The arrivals of Tierno Barry, Jack Grealish, maybe even Dewsbury Hall. The Toffees are absolutely about to become a surprise package this year. And so for anyone who hasn't realised that yet and is still tipping them for a bottom 5 slump, sorry, but that's about as sensible as playing chicken with a chimp. Oh, eat footy bat off your face. 13th, Newcastle. I've seen this quite a bit. Everyone is laughing at Newcastle United right now. And some people are saying that without Alexander Isak, the project is gonna splash and burn, with the club slumping into mid-table. Yeah. I remember when everyone said the same thing when Tottenham finally sold Harry Kane. Guess what? In Spurs' first year without him, they came 5th. Ange Postecoglou had Tottenham top of the league in Halloween. But yeah, Newcastle are actually quietly saving their transfer window. Some decent additions are coming in. So if everyone who thinks the Magpies will finish bottom half, if that happens, then I will personally mail a signed banana to every single person who comments on this video. Ain't happening, lads. 12th, Fulham. It's an obvious, lazy pick to put Marco Silva's Fulham team into boring mid-table, right? Because that's what they've done. Just hovered in and around the 50-point mark for the last 3 seasons. But no, I'm sorry, their transfer window is about as inspiring as a coffee mug filled with maggots. They've done nothing other than, so far, buy a backup goalie for £500,000. This is the definition of a mid-table club standing still, which you just cannot do. Fulham have absolutely signed up for a relegation battle. So anyone who thinks they're in for a comfy, smooth 12th, no chance. 11th, Man United. Look, usually football clubs finish 15th in the league. It's a reasonable shout to think that with some new recruits, they can then wedge their way up to 11th. Yeah, absolutely. But this is Manchester United. This isn't just some ordinary mid-table improving team who finished 15th before. This isn't like a Stoke or a Swansea. So for anyone who thinks that Ruben Amorim is going to guide Man United to another bottom half finish, I'm convinced that prediction is just the equivalent of a hate watch. Sure, you want Man United to splutter and choke like your great Aunt Susan eating lumpy mashed potato, but it ain't gonna happen. A forward line of Cunha, Šeško and Mbemo, supplied with service from actual Bruno Fernandes. In no universe does that team finish bottom half. 10th, Brentford. Top half. Top half? Surely nobody actually thinks that the Premier League's biggest baby in management, Keith Andrews, is going to guide Brentford back into the top half after selling all their key stars. There's absolutely zero chance that Andrews takes the hot seat and suddenly gets them 10th. Premier League management is not that easy, lads. No chance. They're going down. 9th, Bournemouth. This hurts me. This really does. Because I so badly want Bournemouth to improve on last season's 9th. I've been saying this for months and months and months and months, that Andoni Iraola ultimately gets Bournemouth to qualify for Europe, cementing himself as the greatest manager in this club's history, right? But it's all gone wrong, because yes, the new contract for Spurs target Antoine Semenyo is nice and cute, but the board sanctioned pretty much the sale of the entire defence. Kepa, Huijsen, Zabarni and Kerkez are all gone. So now Iraola is having to juggle a completely new back line, which seems insane. It's a bit like a passenger asking their Uber driver to drive a car with his feet, as if he's some sort of monkey who escaped the circus. I honestly wouldn't blame Iraola for now storming out of the club in a huff. So while I still think he's a stupendously talented boss, even I know you cannot finish 9th after selling your whole defence. No. 8th, Nottingham Forest. When does a complete underdog and miracle story repeat the trick 2 seasons on the bounce? Seriously, not even the greatest underdog story in Premier League history, Leicester City could keep the momentum train going after they won the league. Oh, I'm sorry, a Nottingham Forest squad now having to juggle the strain of European nights as well. And it's not just puny Conference League games anymore. Oh no, they'll be regularly up against European giants in exhausting Thursday night matches. Which means that the Forest players are going to be burnt up by Valentine's Day. This entire Forest train built on adrenaline and goodwill and momentum from last season. Oh, it's gonna quickly drown in a glass of smelly orange juice. So I'm sorry, anybody foolish enough to think the Forest will finish top 8 again? I made up my mind. You are about as clever as a Twix. 7th, West Ham. 2 words. Graham Potter. Ain't no way. As much as this West Ham squad is talented on paper, ain't no way does he get them to qualify for Europe. Because I've been saying this for literal years. Even when he was the most in-demand coach in the league. Whilst poor Eddie Howe was on the sidelines with everyone saying he was a failed relegation nugget who couldn't manage a defense. Okay, I'll admit it, that was me. But yeah, Potter was soaking up all the plaudits at Brighton, even getting disgracefully compared to Sir Bobby Robson. Seriously, all the praise being reserved for this hipster banana. It actually made me feel like I was going insane. I felt like I had woken up in a Planet of the Apes. But no, he's since been found out to be some boring bottom half of the league coach. And guess what? He's never even been as high as 8th in the Premier League. Even for a minute, since he was briefly 7th with Brighton in October 2021. That's 4 years ago. And lads, he's since been at Chelsea. It's been well over 1,000 days since he was as high as even 8th for a minute. So expecting him to now scrape 7th with West Ham, a Hammer squad that is far less talented than the Brighton one he had. I'm telling you lads, Graham Potter is never ever going to qualify for Europe. Ever again. Well, not unless he goes to manage Celtic. 6th, Brighton. Look, Fabian Hurstler had a brilliant debut season as Brighton boss. A freakishly young manager who guided them to 8th in his first ever Premier League season. That was mighty impressive. So yes, well done Fabian, but I just know that that's just going to have encouraged all the football hipsters out there to keep on backing this hipster overlord to improve. Sorry lads, but 6th for Brighton, a bit too far. 5th, Aston Villa. Does anybody think that Aston Villa are going to qualify for the Champions League this season? After the mother of all boring as dishwater transfer windows, this was the summer where Villa needed a kick on and spend big to get themselves back into the Champions League. But so far, it's been a pretty dull window, and the fact you're now having to cash in on Jacob Ramsey, your homegrown player, packaging him off to Newcastle for £40 million, that must sting worse than trying to kiss a wasp. Look, Unai Emery is a fantastic manager, but like Fulham, anyone who thinks that Villa are going to improve on their league position after standing still in the transfer market, oh no. 4th, Man City. Look, people find the Man City downfall delicious, and I get it, but Pep Guardiola does not finish 4th. Never has done, never will do. Next. 3rd, Liverpool. Liverpool might not win the league. Sure, especially if City signed Donnarumma and Rodrigo, but there is no chance this Liverpool squad finishes outside the top 2. Now, I know it's crazy to be that bullish about it considering the last time the Reds won the league. It was a much better side, 99 points in 2020, and the very next season, inexplicably 3rd with a whopping 30 points less. But you have to remember, that's back when Liverpool's defence were fed with the injury demons. It was the era of Ozan Kabak and Ben Davies, and the crowd at Anfield was also wiped out overnight. So it's not going to be another freaky season like that. I mean, come on. That Liverpool team had to lose 6 home games in a row for the reigning champions to slump as low as 3rd. That absolute freak show run of form, we ain't gonna see that again. 2nd, Chelsea. Chelsea are world champions. I get it. So there'll be plenty of people out there who think they can squeak into the top 2, but nah. Look, I don't think you're a total egg milkshake for thinking this. It could happen. I just think it's way too big of an ask for Maresca's side to finish above Liverpool and Man City. 1st, Arsenal. So, Arsenal have signed Gyökeres, which means they're now going to magically win the Premier League, right? Absolutely not. Look, I'm not going to call Arsenal fans complete wet cookies for thinking this. Arsenal could win the... I mean, nah. I'm sorry. No. I don't think the arrivals of Zubamendi, Gyökeres, and Madueke are going to be enough to get you to 1st. No. At the very least, you might finish 2nd and put up another title challenge, which I think would be impressive. But no, not 1st. I just don't think this Arsenal team is good enough to be champions of England. Nah, just don't. Anyway, that's the interview. Let me know what do you think. All right, I don't know. I'm pretty confident that none of these predictions will happen. I don't think any of them will. And oh boy, will I look like an absolute donut sandwich if even if at least one of these happens this season. Then yeah, I'm gonna look like a silly Billy, but anyway, let me know in the comments below. Enjoy the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk shit a while. Come on then, how many more of these are left? So many bananas. Oh, I've dropped it on the floor, isn't that great?